As someone who spent an unhealthy amount of time on the internet as a kid in the 2010s, I was no stranger to virtual world games. Club Penguin, Pop Tropica, Small World, Secret Builders, so on and so forth. But one game I played a lot when I was around 12 to 15 was MovieStarPlanet, which, if you're unfamiliar, is basically a social game where you roleplay as a celebrity and grow your fame as much as possible. You can buy themed outfits, design your own, join chat rooms, fear for your life that one day a hacker was gonna come into your account and delete all your stuff, and so much more. But I personally spent a lot of time making movies. Sometimes they were short comedy skits and other times they were ambitious attempts at a longer series. And one day I realized it'd be kind of fun to revisit one of those series and update the characters. So I hopped on MSP for the first time in years and did a commentary recording where I looked through my accounts and movies and everything, but then accidentally closed the screen recorder without saving anything. I was annoyed at the idea of having to redo all my reactions, so I decided to just try again some other time. That other time ended up being 1 year later, and now the game just doesn't work anymore. No matter what I did, MSP refused to let me log in or even make a new account, and according to its subreddit, this has been a problem for a lot of people for a long time. But this same subreddit has a bunch of people who clearly still have access to the game, so it's not completely broken, it's just not very cooperative. I was so ready to make a joke like, oh wow, crazy how this game's still running even though no one plays it anymore, not knowing they're about to play in my face. I was gonna accept defeat and just base this video off this one screenshot of my art book that I at least had the foresight to take, but then I realized I could just make someone else do it for me. So thanks to my dear friend Pax, I was able to get recordings of the series in question so I can give you guys a proper rundown. Of course though, if you'd rather skip the jibber jabber and get straight to the redesigns, you can go to this timestamp instead. So basically, the story is called Diamonds and Divas and centers around 3 high school friends. Rachel, the bubbly airhead, Ariel, the tomboy with an attitude problem, and Penny, the third one. They're known as the Diamond Daughters because they're the children of the most elite celebrities in Movie Star City, and the series was supposed to be a sitcom-style drama about their shenanigans. Episode 8 is them getting ready for the opening party of a new club, something that takes a long time because Rachel can't decide what to wear. That's it! Movies in this game had a 60-second limit, there was really only so much I could do. In episode 2, once they actually get to the party, Rachel and Penny go to the dance floor and run into a girl named Gigi who compliments their moves and then makes fun of their outfits. Ariel, who hints at recognizing Gigi from somewhere, decides no one talks to her girls like that and walks over to beat the shit out of her. Off screen, of course, we don't have the budget for that. Anyways, they get arrested. The next episode is the 4 girls being escorted away by a spirit Halloween cop while a random group of bystanders gossip about the whole thing. Like, whoa, I can't believe those elite's daughters got in trouble. Their parents are gonna be so mad, especially Penny's. Put a pin in that. Anyways, in episode 4, the Diamond Daughters are walking to school and complaining about how the consequence of them getting arrested for physical assault and public misdemeanor is that they all got grounded for a few weeks. Also, it turns out Rachel is a professional rage baiter because apparently making cute black OCs who love pink and pissing people off has been in my blood since forever. Episodes 5 to 7 don't have that much going on. Rachel gets in trouble for talking to Ariel in class. A few weeks later, the girls go shopping to celebrate the fact that all of their punishments have been lifted, and while Rachel's off getting ice cream, a random fangirl comes up to Ariel and Penny and asks to take a picture with them. In episode 8 though, the girls are out taking a walk and they run into Gigi, who also got grounded and isn't happy about it. She and Ariel get into another argument and it looks like they're about to have another fight. Or at least they would have if I actually continued the damn series. Maybe I ran out of ideas, or maybe this was around the time I lost interest in MSP as a whole. Either way, Diamonds and Divas ended on a cliffhanger and I stopped thinking about it for years. Until now! So now that we've laid the groundwork, let's get into the redesigns. But first, here's my usual disclaimer that this story is not fully developed and you should not expect it to be anytime soon. I'm just here to share concepts for fun. Moving on. Going from left to right, our first girl is Rachel Valencia. By the way, they didn't have surnames the first time around, so the ones I say here were decided while scripting. If you didn't already guess, Rachel was the character that my avatar played, so while not intended to be a self-insert per se, she did still inherit some traits from me, namely the fact that she loves pink and daydreams a lot. Speaking of pink, back when I only had that screenshot on my art book to go off, I thought I did my usual thing of giving each character a signature color and putting it in all their outfits, but turns out I didn't stick to it as closely as I thought. One of Rachel's outfits is entirely purple and 2 out of Penny's 3 outfits didn't have blue in them at all. Ariel's the only one who had red in all her outfits, though to be fair, she would have achieved that anyways with her hair. Anyways, I decided to stick with the color motifs from the art book while also nailing down their fashion styles because those were kind of all over the place. For Rachel, I went with a preppy, pink academia leaning outfit that was mostly something new but still had little bits and pieces that were inspired by her MSP version, like the purple skirts from her club outfits and the hair bow from her mall outfit. I considered keeping the pink streaks in her hair and dulling them down a bit so they don't blend in with her outfit, but ultimately went with blonde streaks instead. By the way, a fun idea I had was that since this trio is known as the Diamond Daughters, they should all have diamonds somewhere in their designs. For Rachel, this takes the form of the Argyle pattern on her cardigan, which I drew by hand. And only later realized I didn't have to because I already downloaded a custom brush for this exact scenario. At least the Argyle pattern wasn't as tedious to draw as I expected it to be. Oh, and fun fact, the off-shoulder sweater look is inspired by Norn Ace from Cinderella Grey, which is just one of many Uma Musume references in this video. Brace yourselves. I will admit, Rachel was the hardest to draw, especially because of her hair, since this was my first time drawing French curls, but she also ended up being far and away my favorite of the trio. There is a reason why she's the face of 2/3 of the thumbnails I made for this video. For Rachel's personality, I of course already had a basis for that, but for this rewrite, I also took a lot of inspiration from the lovely Mejiro brides. She's gentle, soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and ironically, not very bright. I already have OCs whose airheaded nature is a ruse, and they're actually incredibly smart, if not straight-up manipulative. So with Rachel, she's like an actual airhead, always has her head in the clouds, doesn't apply herself that much at school, and generally has a very carefree attitude about a lot of things, which is largely because of her parents. All that talk of being the daughters of the most elite celebrities in town, and yet I never actually decided on what exactly their parents do. I guess at the back of my mind I saw all of them as actors since it's MovieStarPlanet, but that's boring, they can't all be movie stars. So anyways, both of Rachel's parents are movie stars. This backstory isn't fully developed because, again, neither is this story in general, but I imagine that Rachel's parents, let's name them Jasmine and Darius, are both famous for their movie roles and met through one of their shared projects. They fell madly in love, got married, made it everyone's problem, yada yada yada, and then decided to start a family. Except there were complications with that, so they were childless for nearly a decade. So when Rachel finally came around, they were over the moon. She is their pride and joy, and they spoil her in every way possible. If Rachel so much as implies that she wants something, she will get it. The moment she expresses interest in a certain hobby, her parents will spare no expense in making sure she gets all the best tutors and equipment and such. They even have one of those celebrity reality TV shows about their family life and everything going on with Rachel as she grows up, which totally won't have any consequences in the form of Rachel becoming obsessively dependent on other people's attention and having an overly idealized view of the world. Haha, surely not! As you'd imagine, the Valencias have also been under plenty of scrutiny, from criticism over them using their daughter for views and profits since her birth, and doubts over whether their perfect family image is even authentic. And the love they have for each other is sincere, but there definitely is a level of exaggeration when it comes to their extravagant family activities and vacations and whatnot. They might as well carry around a big sign that says, "Look how much fun we're having, aren't our lives so fabulous?" Anyways, this upbringing is a big reason why Rachel is so positive and easygoing for the most part. No point worrying about anything when life is great and everything always works out in the end. Easy for her to say. And like I said before, she thrives off attention. She may not always get it from her parents because they are still very busy A-list actors, but she gets plenty of it from the media and even more so from her schoolmates. Aside from already being well known for who her parents are, she's also considered one of the most beautiful girls at school. So she has a bunch of people vying for her attention and a chance to be her partner or even just her friend. And Rachel loves this, graciously accepting every gift and compliment within reason and returning the kindness she receives, all without letting anyone get too close, because she treats this whole thing like it's a game. Like, ooh, which of you is gonna win her heart? You'll have to wait and see, tee. Just don't bother playing if you're overbearing, condescending, or worst of all, boring. She won't even give you the time of day. But also, guys, being the center of the universe is so exhausting. Yeah, even Rachel has her limits where constantly being hassled by both the press and her schoolmates gets kinda tiresome. Especially since she's had several run-ins with weirdos who felt entitled to her time and or affection just because they were longtime fans of her and her parents. And Rachel doesn't have it in her to be blunt and tell those people to leave her alone, so a lot of the time she either politely plays along until they finally go away on their own, or Ariel steps in and tells them to f off on her behalf. Who needs bodyguards when you have a protective best friend willing to bite people's heads off for you? Speaking of Ariel, her dynamic with Rachel is low-key my favorite. Rachel thinks Ariel's the coolest person ever and is especially affectionate towards her, but she's also still her #1 rage baiter. Sometimes Rachel messes with her on purpose, and other times she unintentionally pisses Ariel off with her inattentive nature. Either way, Ariel's always on her case about something, to the point that you think she finds Rachel incredibly annoying. She does, but she also cares a lot about her and considers her a dear friend. They remind me of Sanvina in a way. Anyways, this section's long enough. Here's Rachel.
Well, I guess that settles it. Ice cream is officially better than cake. Well, I don't know if it's officially better. Actually, according to Chapter 3, Paragraph 5 of the Splatfest rules, it is. Ice cream is now legally better than cake. It's the law, bro.
Next up, we got Ariel Sahni. Fun fact, when I was trying to decide on her surname, the first thing that randomly came to my mind was Leroux. And I was like, hey, that sounds cool. Let me look up what that means. It means redhead. It's literally just French for redhead. And I already can't remember whether or not naming her Ariel was a reference to the Little Mermaid in the first place, so I'm not going with that. Anyways, Ariel was described as loyal, irritable, and a tomboy, and I think I also intended for her to be goth, but all I really did was make her wear black and red. Most of her outfits were neither goth nor tomboyish. To be fair though, the thing about using other people's avatars in your movies is that you can only work with whatever clothes they own, so again, there was only so much I could do. For the most part, Ariel's personality stayed the same. She's very blunt, always speaking her mind and making her grievances clear, especially with Rachel, as I said, and often comes off as a grumpy pessimist. But all that aside, she's a really chill and reliable person who can keep a level head in even the toughest of situations, usually. To keep up my obligatory Uma Musume personality comparison, she's a lot like Air Shakur. For the redesign, I had a certain outfit style in mind, and after a bit of research, because again, I am really bad at remembering which styles are which sometimes, I realized that what I was thinking of was grunge. Ironic, because the big thing about the grunge subculture is that it's anti-consumerist and has roots in working class culture, hence the value placed on thrifted clothes. Which obviously clashes with the whole rich daughter of an elite celebrity thing, and I figured I could do something with that contrast. Either her family used to be poor and Ariel was already grunge at the time, and witnessing how their newfound fame corrupted her mom just made Ariel even more determined to reject that glamorous lifestyle, or she's a poser. Before I get carried away with talking about her character though, let me finish with her design. I kept her fluffy hair with blunt cut bangs but with some adjustments, and made sure to give her some grunge staples such as the flannel shirts, ripped jeans, and band t-shirts. At least my research told me those are staples. I don't know, if I still missed the mark somewhere, please let me know. Speaking of the band shirt, the logo on it is a legally distinct version of the one for the band L7, which I learned about along the way. I actually listened to some of their songs while drawing Rachel, they're pretty cool. Anyways, the diamonds in Ariel's design come in the form of her fishnets, which is an idea I got from Tosin Jordan. See, all of the Uma's designs are based on the silks their real-life jockeys wore. In Jordan's case, her jockey silks had diamonds on it, so designers put them in a lot of different places on her outfit, from her earrings to her bows to, of course, her fishnet stocking, which is technically just a bunch of tiny diamonds. I really love Tosin Jordan, by the way, easily one of my top 5 favorite Umas. Anyways, this one's more of a pro tip, but watercolor brushes are so good for giving clothes a bit of texture, especially when the goal is to make them look a bit worn down. I used some of Clip Studio Paint's default watercolor brushes on Ariel's shirts, jeans, and shoe soles and really love the end result. Not sponsored, by the way, but I am getting real close to finally achieving monetization, so maybe that day is not too far. Make sure to like and subscribe! Back to Ariel's story though. I went with a sort of combination of the ideas I presented earlier. Ariel's family, or rather she and her mom, I don't know, I never really thought about anyone else, used to be working class and had it pretty rough for most of Ariel's childhood. Ariel's mom, Layla, made ends meet by working 2 jobs, one of them being a waitress, and Ariel helped out by doing whatever odd jobs she could. Layla, though, had a passion for music and singing and often participated in open mic nights at her diner. And some days, somehow, I don't know, details are overrated, a local producer who happened to be at the diner one day took interest in Layla and offered to help her make her singing dreams a reality, which she of course accepted. So, is it raining? So slowly but surely, Layla became a famous singer and songwriter, earning her and Ariel a life of luxury and lots of media buzz over their rags to riches success story. And Ariel had mixed feelings on this. Cause on one hand, obviously she was happy to have a more comfortable life and she was even happier that her mom's dream finally came true. But on the other hand, something shifted. Layla's music used to be tailored to her taste and her experiences. She's the one who taught Ariel the importance of authenticity, something that Ariel came to love about the grunge subculture. Yet the further Layla got into her career, the more generic her music got. Like she was trying to make it appeal to as many people as possible. Experimenting is one thing, but Ariel knows full well that her mom doesn't even like the genre she's tapping into, so what gives? And aside from that, Layla also got way too concerned with fitting in and attending all the best events and doing whatever she could to maintain her new status, no matter how miserable it made her, often pressuring Ariel to do the same. And whenever Ariel called her out on this, she got accused of being ungrateful and trying to ruin everything. Essentially, their perfect new life came at the expense of the close bond they once had. And despite how much she condemns her mom for letting fame get to her head, Ariel herself isn't much better. Again, to be grunge is to be anti-consumerist, yet she also gets carried away by the new luxuries at her disposal, especially after befriending Rachel McShopaholic and Penny the ultimate party girl. She keeps telling herself, well, I had it rough for most of my life, I can indulge a little bit, but knows deep down she's being a hypocrite. So it's a constant internal conflict of wanting to stay true to the values that defined her for so long versus wanting to enjoy her new life and have fun with her new friends, even if it puts her at risk of becoming just like her mother. The grunge page of the Aesthetics Wiki was one of the places I visited while researching, and something from the philosophy section that really stuck with me was a feeling of being an outsider in a world that seemed increasingly inauthentic, which describes Ariel perfectly. It's bad enough that she's struggling to not let this glamorous new community lead her astray, but a lot of the time that community doesn't seem to want her anyways. Sometimes people look down on her for her past, sometimes they look down on her style, and sometimes they're just plain racist. It's always something. The fact remains that Ariel wouldn't fully fit in even if she wanted to. In fact, it's a big reason why she sticks so closely with Rachel and Penny. She may secretly resent the fact that both of them were born rich and fortunate, and she may especially resent how often people say Ariel doesn't deserve to be part of the trio. But Rachel and Penny are two of the only people who accept her as she is. In fact, they were the first people in their class to actually approach and befriend her despite what everyone else said. So unless she wants to be a complete loner, she'll just have to make do. Wow, I really didn't mean to put her through the ringer like that. I always do this. I'll start out with a simple idea for a comedic story and then it snowballs into a super dramatic essay. There is so much more I could say about Ariel and her relationships, but I need to show some level of restraint, so here she is.
What, are you too dumb to understand a simple question? Just point, genius, and I'll figure it out. So you get hit on the head a lot, but I figured your dumb little hair poof would cushion the blow.
Last and kind of least, if we're being honest, we have Penelope Calstone, and yes, I took that surname from Calstone Light O because nothing else felt right. Fun fact, while scripting this video, I thought, Rachel and Penny's names could have been swapped and it would have been a little more fitting. And apparently, my younger self thought the same thing, because it was while watching the recording for the 10th time that I realized that I accidentally made Ariel refer to Rachel as Penny in episode 8. Forget finding typos in my fanfics months after posting them, this is so much worse. Penny was described as peaceful and down to earth, and she was supposed to be your typical mediator to balance out Rachel and Ariel's own quirks, but for the most part she was just kind of there. She didn't actually do or say much in the series, and when she did, it wasn't anything noteworthy. I mean, it's not like I was expecting stellar character writing from an MSP series I made when I was in secondary school, but unfortunately, even now I wasn't all that inspired in terms of how to build up her personality. She's nice, and a perfectionist, and likes to party. That's it. Or rather, that was it. I did figure something out later on, but it took way more effort compared to how the other two immediately got my brain buzzing. No wonder my white OCs are few and far between. Oh, and her government-assigned Umamusume is Dansu Flame, which feels really mean because I like Dansu and she also has a problem of being underappreciated, but I don't know who else to put. For Penny's redesign, I went with a summery beach girl vibe with a tank top, shorts, and sandals. Except the outfit felt boring as it was, so I gave her a loose shirt on top of it. Something from her original look that I kept was her high ponytail, except I styled it in a sort of half bun, half ponytail thing. It was one of the only ideas I liked from these concept sketches I did while I was extremely uninspired and unable to look up references because I didn't have Wi-Fi. The diamonds in her outfit are her jewelry. I tried to give her a tank top of diamond shape as well since it already has a V-neck, but that didn't work out in the way I liked. Even so, her design was fairly easy to put together, but something I struggled a lot with was her eye color. Brown eyes looked nice, but the other two already have brown eyes. Blue eyes matched her color motif but looked kinda scary. Green/hazel eyes didn't feel quite right. Gray eyes just made her look even more like the book version of Annabeth Chase than she already does. And heterochromia, no thanks. In the end, I stuck with brown eyes because they looked the best on her, and I liked the idea of her having a touch of brown in the top, middle, and bottom parts of her design. Also, it's kind of funny how tall she ended up being when I put the three girls together, and this was me being generous. The concept of wearing heels and still being shorter than someone in flats. Anyways, remember that pin from the recap? The thing about how Penny's parents would be especially angry about her getting in trouble with the police? I think I was trying to imply that Penny's family was of even higher acclaim than Rachel and Ariel, so I guess that's what we're going with. Basically, Penny's dad, let's call him Jacob, is the current owner of Calstone Entertainment, an extremely successful film studio that a lot of the top actors in Movie Star City work with, including both of Rachel's parents. That's how Rachel and Penny met, in fact. Their parents were at a dinner party or something, mingling with each other, and were like, "Whoa, you also have a daughter of this age? What a coinky dink, let's introduce them to each other." So those two go way back and have always been very close, to the point that they consider each other their first sister, or in Rachel's case, her only sister. Anyways, take note of how I said Jacob is the current owner of the studio. It was actually founded by Penny's great-great-grandfather, and because nepotism rules all, ownership has always been passed down to the eldest child of the newest owner. Except Penny is the first instance of that heir being a girl. Surely no one's gonna be weird about that, right? Yeah, while Rachel's parents love her to the point of overindulgence, and Ariel's mom used to be her closest confidant but drifted away, Penny and her dad straight up just never got along. Dude was not impressed when his first child turned out to be a girl and was like, "Well, I'll just pass the company on to my first son instead." He never had a son. 5 children and they're all girls. By the way, in the original Diamonds and Divas, I never imagined any of them having siblings, and even now I didn't think of any for Rachel and Ariel. But I didn't want all of them to be siblingless, so now Penny gets to have eldest daughter syndrome. Anyways, Jacob, because being a misogynist wasn't bad enough, is also extremely two-faced. In public, he speaks highly of his family and how much he cares about them, and gave himself a reputation as a devoted husband and father. But in private, he's inattentive at best and scornful at worst, and has made it no secret to his girls that the only thing stopping him from abandoning them and starting a better family with someone else is the fact that he cares so much about his image. That's why he's so annoyed when Penny and her friends end up getting in trouble with the police. Instead of worrying about Penny herself, he was more concerned about the dents her little stunts put in his reputation. So yeah, this guy f***ing sucks. On the other hand, Penny's mom, Ingrid, is way more chill. I mean, she's still not all that enthusiastic of a mother. The only reason she even married that bum was to secure herself a comfortable life of luxury. But at the very least, she actually likes and stands up for her children and happily gossips with Penny whenever her dad or really anything bothers her. And the number one thing that bothers Penny is the fact that honestly, she doesn't want to inherit that damn company anyways. She doesn't care much for being a studio executive and overseeing the business side of things. If anything, she'd rather work on the movies directly. Another one of Penny's original traits is that she's into photography, so I kept that and made it so that she also likes filmmaking. She'd much rather be a director, but she refuses to let her dad know that because then she'd quote-unquote prove him right. He'd be like, "See, you really aren't fit to inherit this studio," and the thought of that irritates Penny to no end. So at this point, she just plans to tough it out and hope for the best. Make no mistake though, she is quite the hypocrite. In fact, all 3 of these girls are. Rachel claims to hate condescending people but constantly has that "oh, you poor thing" attitude. Ariel, I've already talked plenty about that. And Penny often complains about how being a nepo baby isn't all that great, but only because of the part about having an awful dad and an inheritance she doesn't want. Also, she's gotten the memo to not say these kind of things around Ariel unless she wants to receive death stares. Anyways, she's more than happy to take advantage of her family's wealth in other ways, most especially in the form of lavish parties. Like I said earlier, Penny loves a good party and often hosts them herself. Beach, yacht, club, whatever, she can make it a good time. As long as you're not part of the planning team, in which case her overbearing obsession with making sure the decorations and catering and so on are exactly what she envisioned gets really annoying really quickly. Aside from that though, she's a social butterfly who's really good at holding conversations and blending into different groups. A little too good, in fact, to the point that you have to ask how much of her personality is hers and how much of it is just something she adapted to appeal to whoever she's talking to. Which is a valid question because she can lie like there's no tomorrow. "Oh, you're super into ballet? That's crazy. She was in ballet club when she was 6. "No, she wasn't." "Wow, you thought that one popular TV show was trash? She didn't care much for it either, even though she did." "No way, you bought that shirt at a small business? She shops there all the time." She's never even heard of the place. Also, her parties have had several incidents over the year with and without her knowledge or involvement. So at this point, Penny's gotten real good at spinning the story around so that either way, nothing's ever her fault. She has more than enough on her plate between taking care of her mom and sisters and looking out for her close friends, so she's kind of callous when it comes to other people. It's not that she doesn't care at all about others, she wouldn't be a super outgoing party host if so, but rather if you get yourself in massive trouble and try to drag her down with you, she will not let it slide. She doesn't know you from anywhere, she had no idea about any of this, and she most definitely will call her lawyer if you keep this up. You're on your own, buddy. Don't tell her this, but she has a bit more in common with her dad than she likes to think. Anyways, that's all I have for her, so here's Penny.
I really think that ecology and world peace are like totally important today. Do you use free weights? Because your deltoids are huge.
And there you have it, folks. These are the revamped versions of my MovieStarPlanet OCs. I'll say it again that I only shared this story for fun, so please don't expect me to do like a continuation where I develop it further or draw any of the other characters. Rest in peace, GG. Anyways, which of them is your favorite? Do you have any ideas for them? If you played MSP as well, what fun stories do you have about your experience? Go ahead and share all of that in the comments. And while you're at it, be sure to like the video and or subscribe if you want to see more like this. I'd appreciate it a lot. Also, mentioning Club Penguin at the start of this video made me remember an idea I had a long time ago to draw the game's mascots as humans, so let me know if you're interested in that. Huge thanks to my $3 patrons, Isaac, Rose, Jay, and Mara. You can join this Patreon tier in order to receive shoutouts, early access to my videos and art, and commission discounts, or simply follow for free to get sketches and previews. My shop, VGen, and other socials are also linked below if you'd like to check them out as well. Thank you guys once again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!